Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. I'm going to take you on a journey with me as I create one of the most historic virtual summits ever built, called Summit Talks, and show you what's working and what's not in real time. All right, let's get started. Hey there, Summit hosts. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software, and your host here on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Before we jump into this episode, I want to remind you, you can get a bunch of incredible resources on getting started with your virtual summit, the One Day Summit Formula, interview like a pro, along with how to create highly converting summit pages, and more over on our website at virtualsummits.com. Just go to the resources area, and there is a lot of incredible value for free. Also, don't forget to come hang out with us inside of the Viral Summits Facebook group, where we have weekly trainings as well as a way to meet and greet with other summit hosts. And if you haven't checked out our Summit Genesis workshop, I highly recommend you look into that. It's a 3-day virtual intensive to get your summit done from idea to launch. So if you need to get your summit out quickly, this may be something you want to look into. All right, so what we're going to do today, again, we're going to be changing it up a little bit. I kind of mentioned this on our last interview last week, or excuse me, on the last episode last week about Summit Talks. I used that as a opportunity for an invite for many of you to come be speakers on it, and it worked. At this moment right now, we have over 145 speaker applications, people who filled out forms requesting to speak on our Summit Talk Summit. Now, of course, we can't take everyone. We can't take all of those. There's just, unfortunately, not enough hours in the day, or I would. So one, thank you for all of those of you who reached out and are interested and requested to be a speaker on there. Hopefully we'll be able to get many of you on there. But with that being said, what I wanted to do, it's kind of occurred to me, I'm going to be going through this process right now of creating, not just throwing together a summit, right? But actually going through the full process, setting the standard, practicing what I'm teaching, plus innovating new ways and better ways of hosting a virtual summit. So why not, for the next couple episodes, take you through the journey with me during different aspects of our summit creation and build out, and tell you what I'm doing, show you what I'm doing, what's working, what's not working, the lessons I'm learning, as well as all the things that are working and things that aren't working as well, which we find many of those. There's never two summits created alike or the same. So that's what I'm going to do today. I want to actually share with you some insights to what has happened in the last week to 2 weeks, and that the lessons that are in that for you. Now, what I've been primarily doing the last week is interview. So obviously we had speaker research and outreach the 2 weeks prior to that. And a couple things with that, I mentioned this as well, is you need to, if you really want to get a lot of yeses, like let's take one step back and look at speaker outreach ratio. Typically, for most summit hosts, it's going to be about a 1 in 5, meaning for every one speaker you're going to get to say yes on your summit, you need to reach out to about 5. Now, for many of you, if you're just getting started, don't have a lot of connections, or it's a lot of cold outreach, it may be more like 1 in 10, okay? So for every one speaker, you may need to reach out to 10. Now, our speaker ratio is actually just under, it's between a 1 in 2 and a 1 in 3. So it's right around 1.27. And there's several things that have caused that to happen. The big one, the main one, connections, of course, but 2 is how we did the speaker outreach. So For everybody I invited personally, like the people that I reached out to, I sent a personal invite. And it was, and I know I say this all the time, and I still get so many summit hosts like, Mark, I don't, just give me a template to fill out so I can send out a templated email. And it's like, okay, we have those. You could actually use our templates, which is better than probably just winging it. But at the end of the day, a personal message is going to be so much more impactful and powerful. So again, practicing what I preach.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
But it wasn't just a personal invite email. I also recorded personal video invites. So for about 100, well, I'd say more like 75 to 80 of the speakers I reached out to, I actually recorded a personal video inviting them. Now, it was only a 20 to 40 second video clip. I used Vidyard, but it was just a simple, hey there, Steve, so great, to connect with you, and I hope everything's going well. I got something really epic I'm working on, and I want to give you a special and personal invite from me to be a speaker on it. Check it out. I think it's something you'd be interested in. If you got any questions, just reach out and let me know. So I sent this invite to all the people I know that I wanted to be on it. Overwhelmingly, I'd say 75 to 80% of them said yes. They got a personal message. Now then, I sent out another 50 to 70 probably that was relatively personal, although the video was not specifically to or for them. So it was a video giving a personal invite, but I just didn't use a name in it. So that's still, again, if I'm reaching out to influencers, A-level people, I am recording a special personal invite video. So please note that if you're doing that, take the time. It took me a couple hours. I blocked off one of my evenings. I think it was like 4 hours. And I just sat there and recorded video after video. But it was worth it because most of them said yes. Now, if you have then my next kind of level of connections, they were a little bit further away from me, not the first people I was reaching out to. They got an actual video invite from me. It wasn't personal. I didn't have their name, but it was recorded in a way that was my personality to them and made it feel like it was for them. Okay. So you can still get creative like that. So that's the first thing. Now, the other thing is then I started talking about it. I talk about this all the time. Foreshadow your summit, post about it, talk about what you're working on. I'm currently on my Facebook page and in my groups, I'm sharing daily video clips, images, of the summit, and not just like a promotional style. I'm sharing bloopers. I'm sharing funny things behind the scenes. There's one of me laying on the couch holding up this thumbs up sign being like, tell me what you do. Do you ever feel exhausted after your interviews? What do you do to recharge and recoup? But it's still putting it out there on people's mind. So this does one of two things. One, it lets people know that there's a summit coming. Okay. This is important because a lot of people would be willing to speak and promote your summit, but they just don't even know it's happening. Most people don't know the summit's happening until promotion starts, and by that point, it's too late. So talk about your summit, put it out there. The second thing it did is all of my speakers that I reached out to, and you're going to get this is another point we're going to talk about, all my speakers that I reached out to that had not filled out the speaker application form yet, it was a reminder. They're like, oh man, that's right. I need to do that. Every time I posted an image or something about the summit, the speaker application form went up, and I wasn't posting the link to the speaker application form. It was just the social proof and reminding them. Plus, once they started seeing that other people were doing it, they were seeing what the setup looked like, that it was going to be something of value. That was the deciding factor for someone being like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of it. So foreshadow, talk about it, but not in a promoty way, right? Like do it in a, like, oh man, something I learned today while doing this interview was this, it was so great. Or give people you're interviewing shouts out, take pictures. That's another thing. If you're doing these recordings and you're by yourself, do selfie style, let your speakers and them know they're cool with it. Be like, all right, we're going to take a real quick screen capture or a selfie. I recommend selfies versus like use your phone versus a screen capture of your computer because it just doesn't catch as much attention. The next best thing is if you have somebody in your office or house, be like, hey, I'm going to be doing this interview. Please just take a picture of me if you can. doing it. Okay. Now that kind of depends on your setup. It might not be make that much sense, but if you can show the screen with the speaker's face on it, it just catches people's attention and you can share that. Okay. So that's a big one. So I have, every time I'm doing an interview, I have Krista come and take a picture of me with this person, with this interview, so I can share it, talk about it. Plus, take notes. A couple things, like take notes of the bad things that happen and of the good things that happen. The bad things, use those as bloopers. Use those to talk. Get vulnerable. That brings in way more attention and way more focus than any kind of braggy post you can do. So like, I have an image of me where I was trying to steam clean our green screen so I could film, and I didn't test the steamer out ahead of time, and it like literally sprayed water all over the green screen and was just soaking wet. And so, I made a little fun of myself and put that out there, but that got a lot of attention and people, clicking on it and liking it, or, sharing their own version of their stories of things like that. So think about that. Foreshadow when you're doing speaker research and recruitment. Okay. Some other aspects to think about in this stage or this phase of the game is, one, don't forget how much you can learn by doing these interviews. Now, I'm obviously in a really great situation. I'm doing a virtual summit on Virtual Summit, Summit Talks, the virtual summit on Virtual Summit. So everybody I'm interviewing, which it's also not just interviews, it's more presentation-based hybrid style. We have interviews as well, but everybody is sharing their insights on Summit. So what do you think I'm doing? Every single session, I'm not tuning out and just letting them just talk and not paying attention. I'm actively engaged because I'm taking notes and I'm listening on what I can improve and change. For me, it's directly related to the summits. I'm like, you know what? That's a really good reminder. I haven't done that in a couple of years. I should do that. Or, you know what? That's a really good point. Something that didn't work and they just ran their summit. Maybe I should consider pivoting that to something else.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your Virtual Summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Now, for you, if you're running your summit, it's probably on a topic that's beneficial to you or your business. Use that opportunity. That's a deep dive. Like I did a podcast episode a couple months ago about the 15 non-tangible return on investments. Knowledge growth is one of the big ones. You have 10, 20, 30, 50 hours, however many sessions or speakers you've got, of you having an opportunity to learn from people. That takes your knowledge and expertise to the next level. Don't take that for granted. Use that opportunity. You're there anyways. Put the time in. This is also another reason why I'm not a big fan of just submitting presentations. I'm cool and I like that it's presentation based, but I'd prefer to do a hybrid where I'm there with the speaker, I intro the speaker, and I'm listening to them do the presentation for multiple reasons. One, you can catch if they try and slip a promo in there that they're not supposed to, but two, you build the relationship with the speaker, but three, you're actually there learning from that person. So get as much knowledge as you can out of it. It will help improve you, your business, in all aspects. Okay. Also, when it comes to recording, so week one of recording for me, we did, I think 30 something interviews. So I had 3 days back to back of 8, 9, 8, and then I think 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, 8 hours, 7 hours, back to back to back to back. And these were all back, one started at 8, the next one started at 9, the next one started at 10, the next one started at 11. So two aspects of this. Definitely batch record your sessions. It's going to be so much better. If I had to do one here, take an hour off, come back, get right back in the mindset, take another hour off, then come back, reset up, just batch your sessions together. Okay. It's going to be better for your mental health. It's also going to be better. Your performance will be better because you'll be in the zone and in the grind. Now you may have to set a certain time limit. Like I'm definitely fatigued at the end, mentally fatigued, physically fatigued as well. But I will say you actually develop a little bit of interview endurance, if you will. So as you go. Now, with that being said, here's how you do that. You set up your Calendly or whatever your scheduler is. You only release a certain amount of days and a certain amount of times at first. So maybe you have 3 different interview weeks, in 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're only doing 4 hours each of those. You got to give options. Okay. So you got to start with something. Then as those start to fill out, people are going to say, hey, there's no sessions left that work for me. Then you increase a couple hours on each side of that. So you can either open up another day with a couple hours or extend those hours a little bit longer. Then you wait for those to fill up. Then people are going to say, hey, there's no interview that works for me, time that works for me. And then you expand it. If I would have just opened up my session, well, I mean, granted, I'm actually back to back with 30 plus interviews every week for the next 6 weeks. However, with that being said, for you, what you don't want to do is just have them sprinkled out everywhere. So start with the small condensed sessions and then expand those by a few hours as you get more and more speakers. So that's how you'll keep it batched versus having a bunch of scattered interviews. Now, with that being said, here's the thing you got to think about when you're doing this. So if you've got back-to-back interviews, you're wanting to do an interview and you want that interview to be 30 minutes long, here's 2 things you got to think about. You got your pre-interview chat. Also with that is what happens if the speaker's late. And then 2, you got your post-interview chat. What happens in your post-interview chat is your promo clips, any filming that has to happen after that, any needed information. So I can tell you I'm pretty good at this. My pre-interview chat is still somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes. Some of them are longer, some of them are 10, but I'm pretty good at being like, boop, we're stopping right now and jumping in at 10. But it's still about 5 to 7 minutes every time. Now my sessions are around 30 minutes. I have a hard stop at a certain point because then I also record promo clips and super summaries as well as give them the information they need. And I know that's going to take me about 10 to 15 minutes, usually right around 10 minutes I can get it done. So we are now sitting at 45 to 50 minutes. Here's what you got to remember. If you're using Zoom and you're going back to back, 1, you got to give yourself a little bit of space there in case you got to run to the bathroom, you need to take a drink, as well as what happens if your speaker is 5 to 10 minutes late. Well, the answer to that is you cut their session a little bit shorter. Do not extend your time where you're going to end up running back into all of the other interviews. So do not extend. They're late. Well, instead of 30 minutes, you get 15 minutes. That's what happens when you showed up late. So they need to respect your time. That's important. So the other aspect to that is, if you're using Zoom or anything else that's processing a download, so unless you're recording it to the cloud, if you've got to process that download, here's the thing. You have to have time in between one Zoom to the next Zoom for that to download, or it's going to pop up in the middle of your interview and it's going to throw you off. So for me, I have it down to a science where I have exactly 7 minutes at a minimum, 7 minutes from the time I finish everything and stop recording and to the time I start my next interview, which is approximately the exact amount of time I need for that file to convert and download. I can save it and then boom, I'm on to the next one. So remember about that file, time to download. Now, with that being said, at the end of your day, you also have to think about this. If you're just using Zoom, you're probably fine. But like our setup, we actually have a Canon DSLR, high def video camera recording everything too. Those on average, each interview, each session is around 15 to 20 gigabytes. That was a G, gigabytes. So you need to think about 2 things here. File sizes, how and where are you going to put those? And 2, upload times. Even with my high speed internet plugged directly into my computer, it takes almost all night for a whole day. Again, 8 to 9 hours of interviews. So 9 times 20 gigabytes, that's 180 gigabytes. Huge amount of file space. Huge. Takes a lot of time. So remember, got to think about file sizes and times to upload. Okay. Now I'm using a special thing with Dropbox where it doesn't, isn't onto my computer, so it doesn't take up the size. But you also have to have one of the business premium accounts on Dropbox. If you're using Dropbox, if you're using Google Storage, you're going to have to expand your Google Storage, etc. So that's something to think about. Additionally, when you're thinking about interviews, if you've got back-to-back days, back-to-back sessions, you need to prepare for your interviews. So I prepare for every single one of my interviews. Again, practice what I preach. So I have a perfect intro created with a welcome flow for every single interview. I know what the interview is going to be about. I have an idea of what direction I want to take that session. I also have my close like a pro planned out and mapped out for that person.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever. bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
So all of that has to happen in advance. If you have 4, 5, 6, 8 interviews happening the next day, that's 10 to 20 minutes. If you have that information, which brings me to the next point I'll talk about. So it takes you 10 to 20 minutes. So I have another, 2 hours of prep time every night on top of the 8 to 9 hours. So these are things you need to think about, creating time to prep. Now, with that being said, here's the thing. The speakers always wait till last minute. So you speakers listening to this right now, get your stuff together already. You want to be on the summits. We know you want to be on the summits. You get a lot of value out of the summits. Fill out the darn forms. You're like, Mark, I hate filling out the forms. I know, I hate it too. But do it. You want to be on the summit. You want to have a great session. Give the summit host what they need to crush your summit. Okay. They need to be able to create a perfect intro for you. They need to be able to prep for your session. If you want it to be stellar, help them be stellar. Fill out your forms. Don't wait till last minute. I know it sucks. Just get it done. Get it over with. Okay. Stop my rant right now. We're dealing with that, and you're going to deal with it too. It's going to happen. The speakers are going to wait till literally every day. I have speakers that are waiting to the last minute. Some of you are listening right now. I know you are, because you know who you are. Some of them wait till like the day before. Some of them are that morning submitting the form. And it's like, hey, how am I supposed to prep for your interview if you submit your form at 8? And I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 p.m. interviews, and you're at 1. So you find a way to make it happen. But speakers, just help us out. Fill it out in advance. 2, host, you need to be thinking about that. So if you're doing all of your outreach and communications, if you're doing the back and forth, then you need to consider that you're going to need to be following up. So plan some stuff in the morning and then in the evening, and then be able to hit them again. If you're friends with them on Facebook, message them on Facebook. I've had to do that many times, but you're going to need that information. Now, you can streamline that process 2 ways. 1, you have a form. You have every single thing connected. So I have my speaker application form where they apply to be a speaker. At the end of that, it gives them the Calendly link to book their interview. And as soon as the thank you page from the Calendly is, fill out your speaker details form. So it's back to back to back. And most people, I'd say 50% of them, just go straight through it and do it. And then, of course, we have our follow-up notifications, which are, please fill out your speaker information form. This is different than what you already filled out, etc. So if you have that, then it's easy to go into whatever tool you're using. We use Typeform to go into Typeform, and I can see all the data, all the information there. I can take it and I can prepare for their presentation or for their interview or whatnot. So that's a ninja streamlined way, especially if you're going to be doing a mega summit. You need that kind of stuff. Also, if you can have somebody help you with the communication aspect, that is ideal. So, of course, I have members on my team that are helping run my summit in the sense of the communication aspect. So I did all the initial outreach. Remember, I sent a personal message. It came from me, like I always say. Now, when that message comes back into the inbox, it's fielded by my team, and they handle communication from there. Okay. The other thing is, you got to understand, some of your speakers, this is another thing. If you really want some big name speakers, some of them are like, ain't got time for that. If you want me on your summit, I'm here to show up. So you need to be able to accommodate them. So my team will actually reach out, call them, and just write down, let them just tell us the answers and write down the answers. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing that for everybody, obviously, but if there's somebody or some people that you're like, I really want this person on, make it easy and accommodating for them. So those are some of the main things right now that we're talking about that's been going on. Lots of outreach, lots of back and forth. Also, again, remember file size and issues like that. So these are some things that are happening this week. I'm giving you stuff real time. I'm taking notes as I go through this of reminders of what to tell you, what to give you, and things that are happening. I'm going to keep doing it. I think I'm going to do this, a couple times a month at least throughout the launch of the Summit Talk. So you're going to get essentially guidance on what's working, what's not working, thoughts to remember in real time, so that you can implement these into your summit. And again, Summit Talks is coming. Mark your calendar, September 28th. If you're listening to this in advance, get ready. It is going to be the largest, most impactful virtual summit ever hosted for summit hosts. So get ready. If you're listening to this after September 28th, reach out and see if you can get the all access pass. We probably have that for sale. Other than that, remember, Your message matters. So go out there, make an impact in the world, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.